and welcome to my top 10 favourites of 2019. Now, it was a very mixed bag reading year because I felt like I hadn't read a lot of great books. Like, I thought that this list would be easy to compile, but actually I gave out a ridiculous amount of 5 stars last year, and this was incredibly difficult to work out. It's about 19 books for a while trying to work out how to cut down from that. I was like, this is so difficult. So this list has the possibility to change depending on the day, quite frankly, but I've picked 10 to go with today, and I'm relatively happy with my choices. There are some that I'm gutted not to be including on this list, and I thought about doing them as honourable mentions, but nope. I'm just going to stick with these 10. All of these were obviously 5-star reads for me last year, and I have managed to also somehow put them into some sort of order. I feel like this order could change daily as well, but this is how I'm feeling today, so this is the list we are going with. So at number 10, we have actually got kind of 2 books in one. It's 2 books from a series, and that is Legendary and Finale, both by Stephanie Garber. These are part of the Caraval trilogy, and I read them both last year in quite relatively quick succession and loved them both. I thought they were absolutely fantastic, obviously. This is a fantasy series that is kind of tricky to explain because it moves on so much by the second and third books. The first book, these 2 sisters basically try and get involved in sort of, how do I explain this book? I can't explain this book series actually, because it's been too long since I read the first book and I might end up going too far and spoiling, but I highly recommend checking out this series. At number 9, and this was tricky for me to place at number 9, but I've gone for Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was fantastic and I loved it, but it wasn't quite Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, definitely my favourite read of the year kind of read, but it's definitely still up there. This follows Daisy and a group called the Six, and it's told in a really interesting way because it reads almost like a non-fiction kind of interview in a magazine kind of experience. So you've got like the person's name, and then you've got like what they remember of an event, but then someone else's name will be there and they'll be like, no, it happened like this. And it's so cleverly interwoven, a fabulous read. So at number 8, I've gone for a non-fiction, and this is The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. This has stayed with me to this day. It's about some ladies in 1920s America who were making like watch faces and things for other sort of things with radium for many purposes, but including the army. And when they were putting the radium on these faces or whatever they happened to be doing, they were often putting the kind of brush-like thing that they were using into their mouths to clean it. Some liked the taste, some didn't. They were provided a pathetic pot of water in which to clean the brush, in most cases, not always. But a lot of them were told off for using that, and they found that it clumped on the brush quite a lot, so they'd often just suck it off. This led to them ingesting a lot of radium over time, which was, of course, deadly, quite frankly. And what happened to these women is just absolutely disgusting. This book goes incredibly graphic at times, and it's made all the more graphic by the fact that you know that this is real. It's really harrowing to read and really just utterly disturbing, but at the same time it's a moving read because the women, once they find out what's happened, really fight for their rights. They push it, they fight, they don't give in to try and get this looked at, recognised as something that was wrong. And yeah, it's just a really motivational yet disgustingly harrowing read, which I feel like everyone needs to read. At number 7, we have got another Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and this is Forever Interrupted. I was kind of torn on whether this one should be as high as it is, but then I thought, when was I last in this big of a mess when reading a book? Because I was crying for 60-70% of this book probably. Like, I was just a mess, a complete and utter mess. This follows a couple, and basically within the first chapter her husband goes to the shops. They've only been married, from what I remember, a week, 2 weeks at most. And he goes to the shops to go and get something that they need, some trivial item. And he doesn't come back because he gets killed. This is not a spoiler, it's the whole basis of the book. And obviously this leaves the female main character just absolutely broken, as you understandably would be. And we sort of look back at their first dates and how the relationship came to be, while also working through her grief now. And it's just a really moving read. As I said, I can't remember the last time I cried this much in a book, and I'm becoming quite a book crier, to be honest. But this one had me beyond broken. Next we have one that, again, I feel like this could have placed higher on a different day, I'm not sure. But this is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. The first book in the Arc of Scythe series, which I definitely want to continue on with this year. But this book blew me away. I'd obviously seen, because it had been quite a while since it came out, I'd seen people loving it. And I was expecting to like it, to the point where I'd even bought a signed copy. I wasn't expecting to absolutely fall in love and obsessed with it to the extent that I did. This is just absolutely blow your mind kind of material in a direction that I hadn't even thought about, to be honest. So this follows mankind where people no longer die. Death has been conquered, so people just live forever. They can turn back their lives to like whatever age they want as well. They can just be the age they want to be and just keep living, and then when they reach an age they don't want to be anymore, just turn back and go back to, say, age 21 again. As a result, the world would be incredibly overpopulated if we didn't have scythes. So their jobs are to control the population and to, through their own means, they've got laws, but through their own means also decide on who should die and then go and kill them in whatever means they wish. There are many different kinds of logic here on what sort of route the scythes go down. Some are worse than others, and the politics in this world make that really interesting. But the main point of this book is that we follow 2 trainee scythes, and needless to say, it's fabulous. Next on the list is another non-fiction, and a book that, to be honest, when I picked it up, I thought, yeah, I'd like this. I did not expect it to make it onto my top 10 of the year, though, and this is Becoming by Michelle Obama. This is her autobiography, of which I listened to the audiobook, which she narrates herself. I highly recommend listening to that if you can. And it just blew me away. She's such an inspiring woman. It was also just incredibly interesting to get an insight into what it was like to be a Black American woman growing up in America and sort of going down the career route that she wanted to go down, but also her marriage, her relationship and marriage to Barack, and also her becoming First Lady. It was just like, again, another must read for anyone. I don't care who you are. This book is like, yeah, non-fiction kind of, unless it's a specific subject matter, tends to, if it's going to be a 5-star read, a book that I want everyone to read. Next, I read another Stephen King book last year, and I'm starting to really fall in love with Stephen King's books. This one is Pet Sematary, and again, I was expecting to like this, especially when I picked up the audiobook, because I'd heard that Michael C. Hall, aka Dexter from the TV show Dexter, was narrating it, but it just blew me away so much more than I expected it to. And yeah, I really want to check out more Stephen King this year. This one follows a family who, different members of the family aren't necessarily that good at handling grief. And then there's a cat, and the daughter is very attached to this cat. And then things happen. Bad things happen. It's really twisted. It's really messed up, but it's not too long either. I don't feel like this is a overly long Stephen King book to get yourself stuck into, nor is it overly terrifying. It's just more just horrific, to be honest. So it's a good place to start, I think. Next, another book that I was not expecting to make it onto my top list. This was just one that I'd picked up on a whim, that I'd seen quite a few people listening or reading and enjoying. So I picked up the audiobook again. There's quite a few audiobooks in this top 10 list, actually. Last year was the audiobook year. So this is The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary, and the audiobook was narrated by Carrie Hope Fletcher. and she does a phenomenal job. This book was just so exciting to me in a kind of so different kind of romance contemporary kind of way. So we follow a woman who wants to get her own flat. So she looks into different possibilities, but the only one that she can really afford is one where she'd be sharing with someone, but not in a traditional sense. So their deal is that she'd have the flat at night and at weekends. Because he does shift work, he will have the flat during the day so he can sleep in the day while she's at work, and then he will spend the weekend at his girlfriend's, and they never need meet, they never need cross paths, the hours are all sorted, and it should be as easy as that, but of course it isn't as easy as that. And it's just such a cute, but also really moving, but yes, yeah, it covers quite kind of important topics. It was just a bit of everything for me, and I really loved this one. That's why it's in third place. In second place, and boy did I debate whether this should be in second place or not, because we have another book that totally broke me. Again, I spent a lot of it crying. And when I show this book, that might surprise you initially, because this author is associated with thrillers. I think this book's even being marketed as a thriller. This is The Dilemma by B.A. Paris. And this book, if you are into B.A. Paris as an author and you want to pick this up, don't go into it thinking it's a thriller. I mean, it is thrilling, but it's not a thriller in the traditional sense. Instead, think of it more as a character study on a family with a heck of a lot of suspense and a lot of drama. So we follow a family of 4. The children are grown children, though. I can't remember their exact ages now, but like late teens, early 20s kind of age. So the mother is about to turn, was it 40? Yes. The mother, Olivia, is about to turn 40, and she's kind of got the most ridiculous birthday party ever planned, because they didn't ever have a proper party or anything for their wedding, and so she's living this dream out for a 40th birthday party instead. Very rich, entitled weirdness, I know, but it works. And the daughter's currently studying abroad. The son doesn't get on very well with the father, and there's just so much going on. The lies, the way these lies are interwoven, the chapters alternate in perspective between Olivia and her husband, and they both have so many lies that just keep building up, and it all comes to quite the conclusion. So this leaves in our number 1 spot. And again, I feel like this wouldn't necessarily be in the number 1 spot on a different day, but the mood I'm in today is. In the number 1 spot, I've got The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This was the highly anticipated sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. The Handmaid's Tale is one of my favourite books of all time, and so it only felt fitting that this would be a close second and also be at the top of my list for this year, because this blew me away, and I'd say it's on par with The Handmaid's Tale. It's absolutely fantastic. We get a bigger look into the actual world of Gilead and the whole society and how everything was set up, and how everything wasn't necessarily as it seemed in our limited viewpoint through the first book through Offred. So yeah, highly deserving of first place book, and I love this. And if you've not read The Handmaid's Tale or this, you need to go and read those, because they're some of my favourite books of all time. There we have it. So yeah, that was my top 10 favourite books of last year. Please let me know what your favourite books of last year were, whether any of these were included in that, whether you want to check any of these out. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you soon. Bye bye!